All right, you good?
Sure. You going live?
We're going live.
Oh my goodness. New. Hold potentially inappropriate messages from review.
No, we won't do that. We're live, folks. Welcome back. We got another episode of Gehts. Uwe, what's happening? We're gonna hang out here for just a few seconds, let some people get a chance to log on. So, did you play on Tabletop Day?
Well, we played a lot of games, but I'm a little off balance here because I've been writing rules and working on rules and getting a lot of good customer feedback from our Proof HQ forums. So all of a sudden I look up and go, holy cow, we're doing another show here pretty soon. So, but tabletop game was great. We had a lot of people come from Columbus, from Cleveland, from all around. Played Clank in Space and played, what all did we play? Played some good games. We had a lot of people. There was a crowd. And everybody
played Star Quest.
Star Quest. People brought a lot of food. That's a key thing. Had some good beverages. A lot of hummus.
A lot of hummus.
Oh my goodness! Everybody brought, and we had some chefs from Cleveland bring chef-made hummus. We're not talking like just homemade. This stuff was phenomenal.
Did you win anything, or did you let Gunta win everything?
I never played one game with Gunta.
Really?
No. So we've learned we separate each other, and that way it gives everybody a good chance in there. But I have a tendency of getting my butt creamed in most games, so we won't go there. Are we?
Make sure we got store chat. There we go.
Well, it helps when we have chat on and everything.
Somebody say something in the chat so we can make sure that that's working.
We see people on there, but we're seeing nothing chat. So if anybody can say something, I would appreciate it. You know what? I don't see. Can you hear us?
There
Okay.
we go. Kayla's watching. We have to behave.
I don't see my microphone going up and down. So can you hear us? We can hear. Good.
Excellent. Very good.
All right.
All right. I think we can safely dive in at this point. Last week we talked dopamine cycles, different things that can make your game unique. We wanted to talk this week about strategy, different strategic aspects of a game, how that can make it unique, how that supports the fun, supports the dopamine cycle. Dive into that. That's kind of a big.
As I said, there are really three parts to a game design when we're looking for game designers. Number one is that dopamine cycle action. What is that fun part that makes your game great? Could be like in our upcoming Agents of Mayhem, doing ridiculous actions, having fun, blowing up a building, or some other crazy thing that you and your the gaming partners, come up with. But then you need also the longer strategic cycle to the game, because if it's just this really light, quick, over and over repetitive thing, it can get pretty boring. And that's where all the very successful games have a very strategic structure. This could be your character development. If you're playing like a game that's Starship Troopers or any of the role-playing type of aspect of the games. Or you could have it where you're engine building. There are never enough resources, so you're trying to build up. We played Roll for the Galaxy and games like that, where you're really, and Agricola, where you're really building up your engine. You can go different paths from game to game. And on this strategic plateau where you're building up your resources to make your unit or your side more effective, or every action you take in one way more effective, then that makes that little dopamine cycle process that we talked about in the last episode have a much longer life, and people want to continue playing your game. Does that kind of make sense?
That makes sense.
CC? Because what's important, for example, if we just have a game where you go into a room, monsters come out at you, and you just fight, fight, fight. And then you go into the next room, monsters go in, fight, fight, fight. And that is the same from the beginning to the end of the game. We call that just an A to A game. And it's fun the first time you play it, or maybe fun the second time. But if there's no build up in the game and strategies and tactics that you can take in a different manner each game you play, that game can get boring and its shelf life becomes a lot shorter.
You're talking replayability. Then.
Replayability goes way down. So what we usually try to look for is A, B, C. So that A, you're first getting into the game, you're learning how things are going, you're getting that fun factor, that dopamine cycle going really quickly. But now, for you to do what you want to do, the resources are short, where you can't do everything you want to do. You want to do 2, 3 things, darn it, you only have enough, let's say, ore or mana or whatever to do that one thing. You need more mana. You have to make this one thing that you're doing more effective. I'm shooting a magic missile. Well, I want to have that magic missile become a fireball. I have a brick clay pit. I can make bricks. No, I want to automate it so I can build houses, things like that. So you're building up to the B stage of the game where you've built this engine. Then this engine creates the end game effect. And it's very important. And what we see with a lot of people is they make their A-B structure. Here's my A, my dopamine cycle gameplay. And then this B structure where you're trying to get up to, but they make it, again, the same ramp. It's very important that you have different ramps that players can take so you can go in different directions every game. One player is going this route. He's going to try to influence the king directly and gain power that way. The other player is going to try to get together with the minister and the bankers of your kingdom so that they control the money. And by controlling money, they could gain the power and win the game. So there are many, many different ways, or build up your army. And
okay, so I know Vikings pretty well. Where are these ramps in Vikings?
Well, for example, in Vikings, the ramps are a little different. That's like a war game type of situation. My head's going around as CC's picking up his water. But in Vikings, and I'm going to start easier with like our Mare Nostrum game or games like that, where you can go and try to take over different cities. Or you can extend your caravans and build up your economy to build up and go for an economic win. Or you can try to go through the culture and build up your cities and your temples. And each of these give you different abilities. And then we also have where you can get heroes and different type of superpowers. And every time, if you go with this type of hero, where you're going to have to go after this type of game plan. For Vikings, it's very simplistic. The fun part is getting into battles, rolling your battle dice, and have your own guys running away, things like that. That's what makes that unique. But in that game, what makes that so different is the players from the two sides play totally different. As the Vikings, you're coming in and you have the ability to go for really, really deep runs into enemy territory. But from game to game, you may play different. Are you going to come from the north where the English are weak? Are you going after their power centers at first to bring down their resource development? Do you go right through the middle and try to separate it? Do you go in deep, try to take as much as you can? Or do you go very slowly and try to consolidate? And every time you play, it's a little different. And what makes that game a little different also is the team play, which we'll talk about at a different time. So it's very important that you have the strategy. Now, you need, though, to support your fun part of the game with the strategic part. If the fun part is this, and you make the strategic part too limiting, that it limits and bogs down the fun part, then you're in trouble. So if you make it, for example, in our Agents of Mayhem, where you can do really crazy stuff and you need resources, though, to do it, you limit the resources that you may be able to do it once or even twice. But if you do too much at once, it'll so bog you down the future that you can't do anything, and that can hurt you. So we want to make sure that you're never limited in your resources, that it stifles that fun game plan. So the fun dopamine cycle, the strategic play and game buildup below that, and then the uniqueness of the game. That's the third part. What makes that game unique? For example, our Conflict of Heroes, the rules I've been writing now like crazy. What made that game so unique is, for a war game, you can teach it in 5 minutes. You're playing, not looking at the rules anymore, but we have the back interfacing. Every 10 seconds, you're doing something. And on top of that, when you get hit, what was very unique at that time is when you get hit, instead of looking on charts and whatever you're looking, you're randomly pulling from a counter tray and pulling a hit counter that'll tell you how that unit is affected. And it's tactically, the probability is the same what happened historically, but your opponent doesn't know what happened. So now all of a sudden you put down secretly. That is a big part of the game because there's no slowdown. Things are happening to you in the game that will then dictate how you're going to go after your objectives for the rest of the game. So uniqueness is then your third key portion of the gameplay.
You mentioned the elephant in the room. So we've had questions submitted on all the social media and over email. And by the way, if you want to leave a comment, we can in the chat here. We will try and get to it over the course of this episode. But Sean McCann on Twitter asked, and there were several people on BGG that also asked for an update on Storms of Steel 2nd edition. June is almost here.
We're making so many changes, and again, as our design, as we get more into, as we're learning what makes design successful, this new set of rules coming out with Storm Steel is going to throw a lot of people off. And why I'm going to get into in a little while. Some things that hold back design and the critical thinking, this dopamine decision making, we're going to get into this. And I'd like to go through some examples. For example, it is your turn to move. And in a lot of games, old school games, it was roll some dice. It tells you how far you can go and make decision A or B. That takes away from the possible decision making, that critical decision making of decision anticipation resolution. So instead, let's say you get 5 actions. And for each action, you could move a space, or for one, you could take something, or you could give something. Now, right away, you've made it the decision, which isn't a decision, roll the dice. You've changed it to, now you have to decide, do you want to pick some stuff up? Do you want to move far? But if you move, can you take this stuff with you? You really have to get somewhere, but what's the benefit of maybe looking and searching here and picking it up? Number one, very important. Another thing is draw a card when you get to somewhere to see what is there. Again, you're not making decision. It's again a random element that then give them decision. Instead, what a very, very good idea is instead have, let's say, 3 cards face up in a 4-player game that give benefits, and people see it and they go, oh, I need that card. I want that. So I'm going to go out of my way to try to get that. Oh, I hope I can get that before my opponent gets it. Now, you notice how the tension level of the game has gone up. Instead of you get somewhere, you randomly draw, oh, I got this, how cool, to, oh, crap, look at that is really cool. I really need that. I hope I get it before someone else. These are all, again, decision-making processes. So when we do this, I'm going to go on the blackboard. We have designed the basis of our game. Now we're going to do a flow, a ladder logic diagramming, as we call it in boring engineering language. And we're going to put on here every, our $5,000 board is not working. No, it's fine. I got it. So let's say we have a game that we've developed, and we are looking at the movement. We're looking at the decision-making processes. We're looking at the the buying and selling, the negotiations. We want to put this on a blackboard. And so we're going to say, let's say when we move, this is our movement, or let's say trade. This is my trading. Now, I'm either going to be able to draw a card here or randomly draw. Randomly draw, that's it. When I draw a card, it's going to have different cost levels to this drawing. So I break it like this. Either I'm going to pay for it and go for the card, or I'm not. So this dead ends here. If I draw the card, what ramifications could it have? Let's say I draw a card that I paid money for, and all of a sudden I get to increase how fast I can run. So that will then allow me to run. But I may decide instead how fast I can run, I'm going to add that benefit and say I can now run longer or faster, or longer instead of faster. I'd rather be a tortoise than a hare. So I'm breaking up this whole entire decision-making process. Then you have another one over here where you are delivering your goods and you're going to go and make it into a bidding war between the other players. So either I get here, I'm going to just sell it for a certain price, or I'm going to go into a bidding war. Now, people are either going to bid or they're not going to bid. They go in the bidding war, and I have, again, another flow structure. Let's say we are you get into combat or some type of conflict. You then decide to move into an area where an opponent is, or you don't. When you move in, your opponent can then decide, I'm going to attack, or I'm not going to attack. If they attack, then one of three things could happen. Then let's say you go here, then you have to look it up on a chart and see what happens. You hit, or you don't hit. If you don't hit, then this can happen. And let's say it looks like this. I have my flow chart. Now let's go back to our original part, our original program, and look at our dopamine cycle. Let's look at what are the fun parts of this game. Let's say like in 1775 or Vikings, it's moving in and getting in a battle and seeing other people run away and having your friends come and help you. That is this part of the gameplay. Now I have, with my negotiations and bidding, let's say then I have to figure out if I negotiate and I get it, then I have to change this chart around and make the chart changes and then count everything on the board to see what the values are. But the bidding part where people are negotiating going on, they're going, oh, yes, that is my other fun dopamine part of the game. So now we want to look at these and we want to make this dopamine cycle increase. We want to make the frequency of it happening go up so that people are always engaged, having fun, getting their dopamine pump, and they're having a great time. An hour goes by, they didn't even see it. They're joking, having fun with each other, ribbing each other, and then the game's over. What a great game. I want to play that again. So that is this area and this area here. So what we do is we draw, in this timeline, we draw a lower and an upper boundary. Now, this is going to take some work because many people don't really think and break down their game into, number one, the movements of it and also the decision making. But if you do this and then identify what is a fun part of the game and then what strategic, let's say that's fun part, what strategic parts of the game support it and make it different. We want to increase these cycles. Now, all of a sudden, we see things dropping outside of our upper and lower boundary that make the cycle slower, that bog down the game, make me have to do something other people are waiting for me to do it, dead time. This is everything then that we can identify that falls outside of that may be critical to your game, but guess what? You can design it into the system get rid of it, because these outliers slow down the gameplay and the experience of your game. If you can get rid of these and go right to the point, design to the point to get where the fun parts are, then all of a sudden you've streamlined, your cycle increases, and the fun part goes up. Now, you don't want to make it too simple. You have to find the boundaries and put these correctly, because now not only is cycle important, but also the amplitude of your experience with these things. The 7-card stud poker, you put down a bet. You see the first 3 cards, you need another card. Am I going to bet again? Am I going to continue? The next card comes up. Oh man, I'm almost there. Perfect game of getting this anticipation going. You know what? We paid for this
real money.
Yeah, real money for that. It costs us thousands of dollars. What you can't really tell is he just hits a button, it kind of goes up and down by itself and everything else. So that is the very, very key part. Now, how can we increase these amplitudes? And that is what makes a game so successful. You're deciding, okay, I'm going to go for that card I see. Now you as a designer have to make it that you can't just get it right away. You have to make it that you have to make another decision. You have to put some resources into it. You have to put more skin into the game in order to get the cycle to close its loop. And that could be anything from having to beat someone there before they get it, having to get that rare resource that both of you want. And if you get it, boom, I got it. Good decision. Next one. So from that standpoint, getting rid of everything that keeps you from having that fun part of the game is very detrimental.
My son asked, and since he's my son, I'm going to ask the question. He wants to know if we're going to do any more 3D games. It's from Chase.
Well, we haven't even published the first one, but I know he's been playtesting it. So yes, we're going to be doing a lot more 3D games. And that's a uniqueness that allows us, again, to bring in different aspects of gameplay into the game. And again, you want to build stuff into your system. You don't want to say this is the rule, except if. Exemption rules are always bad. You want to build it in so that it's just part of the rule. And gameplay and the way the card play and card deck building has been growing in the game industry, it's not by chance that's becoming so popular, because it's allowing to bring very complex ideas and interactions together in a very Scheißdreck, wie sagt's man denn? In a very easy to grasp and help me out here. Comprehend way. So it could be with colors and objects. The way dice are working, it used to be where you'd look into a very complex chart to see if you hit. Now it's like our Agents of Mayhem. If you're close range, it's on the card. If you shoot, you take the yellow square, which is the yellow 6-sider. Long range or medium range, you take the red diamond, which is the red 8-sider. Long extended range, you take the blue octagon, which is the 12-sider. And these now have symbols and everything on them. And so many games have done so many very unique mechanics built in, so you don't even have to do math or anything like that. And we're going to go into these items in a future episode.
That was a perfect lead into another question we got on Twitter from @Games Translation. Always wondered, is he German as in an actual citizen? Sounds 100% American on camera, but the name is confusing.
Yeah, I'm German citizen, bin Staatsbürger und auch I'm American citizen here. I did linguistics for many years, but linguists can hear my SZ. So I cannot say girls, Wilson, balls. So you just put a southern twang on it and you hide it. So yeah, them balls look good to me. So no, Gunther is also German and American citizen. So we all have our passports, so we can get in through the quickest line when you come through the airport.
You were born in Ohio, though, right?
I was born in Fort Dix Army Hospital. My dad came to America, was here 6 months, and they pulled him right in the Army and said, "You're German, you're engineer. We put you on Staten Island there and designed some missile carrier systems." So we went through the old German story. And then we moved back to Germany when I was a little kid.
I got a question from Dave Relf on Facebook. Are you going to have any representation in San Diego this summer? Not sure which convention.
San Diego?
But
San Diego, California?
Yeah.
Is that California?
I don't think we're doing anything in San Diego, but we are doing a couple of other conventions.
Yeah, we're doing quite a few conventions, and we're getting further and further west. As we're getting a good team together, we're able to do more conventions, and we definitely want to do. We're doing more of the PAX ones. Love to do SaltCon, a lot of the ones in California. So I don't think we're doing San Diego, but I'd need to know the name, because if it's like Kubla Khan or something like that, I'd love to go. If not this year, we're definitely going to be hitting them next year.
Anything new in the pipeline since last time we did an episode? Do we have any new games lined up?
We have a lot of cool games, and I can't really say, because they always say, "Uwe, don't say what we're working on because it gets us in trouble, because people expect it then." So I can't say anything, but I can show some really cool paintings. Ooh, see it behind the clock? Ooh, I have a clock, so you don't really know what it's about. So now I have to hide it again. So yeah, we have some very cool games in the pipelines.
Marcus Lind on BGG, Conflict of Heroes, Awakening the Bear. In the solo, will AI foot units enter barbed wire? I guess this might be a typical Rule 42 thing. Moving into barbed wire is risky, but sometimes worth it.
Yeah, if it goes towards objective and all, they will do it, yes. And another thing, talking about game design, our Conflict of Heroes series has been one of the best-selling type of war games now for the last 9 years. And it's still, after 9 years, our Awakening the Bear still sells hundreds of copies every month. So, and we're out of stock almost again. We're reprinting. And with the Storms of Steel now, again, we're putting our actions where our words are, and we're totally getting rid of, you get 7 action points, you get to decide what you want to do with this unit with 7, and then you go to the next. And we're trying to bring even more interaction, more decision making in, and that we got rid of that all. Now you take an action with any unit, but if it's a very expensive action you're taking, the more expensive, the quicker it'll spend, and then you can't use it. It won't be fresh anymore for the rest of the turn. And that just brings such attention. It's every time, every action you're doing is going, is it worth me doing this? And what if it becomes spent? And again, decision, anticipation, resolution, and we've just times tenfold increased that. So even as we're designing, getting more and more into this with our group of excellent designers, we're taking our old games and we don't sit on the laurels. We continuously try to make them better. It gets us in trouble, and that's why we've had so many delays with Storms of Steel. But it's been, now we have about 20 people heavily editing with us. I'm working on it day and night, and that thing's going to get done. And the campaign series for that is so unique. There's no campaign book. It's really different. So we'll get into that some other time.
The Who, What, Why podcast on Twitter asked, I'm a podcast host that focuses on game design, and I'd love to have someone on the show to talk about the design behind Freedom, specifically with the focus on the sensitive nature of the theme and how Academy handled the topic.
We'd love to talk to you. That was probably one of our biggest learning efforts, because it was such a sensitive topic, and we went out of our way to bring in all aspects of it. And it's simple. What you learn in the history books in high school, trust me, it's about 10% of the truth. And many people know this. And so these are really things that we try to explore. and had to be very careful about because we did get a lot of negative feedback. Now it helps when NPR does programs on your, or being in the Wall Street Journal New York Times, or was it Wall Street Journal last month, where they're really supporting the game and saying, wow, this is something different. But yeah, I'd gladly talk to you, because there we had to really make some very critical decisions. And that's a problem with being a historical game company, because some of the topics we're presenting in games, people are still alive who went through it. And we have to be very, very sensitive to this, which make it so much more difficult than doing a Space Orcs game, because there are no live Space Orcs that I know of. So
the most prolific poster on the internet, Anonymous, on BGG, asked Conflict of Heroes D-Day/Normandy, about French and German 1940.
Yes, France 1940 we're working on the maps. Everything's been done. What's holding it up is our Storm Steel rules. D-Day, Pavlos Germides in Greece is working on it full-time, doing excellent work. Dan Carey has worked on a Hertigan Forest, finalizing. Conflict of Heroes is going to be very, very prolific and busy, along with the solo expansions in the coming 2 to 3 years. So we have the France 940, we have Kreta, the German Fallschirmjäger into Kreta. We have, and also the Greek spillover of that. We have the American D-Day invasions of June 6th, 1944. And then the German invasion of France, 1940. So we have some very good ones. And also, we have not had contact with our Russian counterparts who were not military, who are working on the Russian perspective of Stalingrad. And that is also, though, we're hoping as things calm down that we will be able to continue working with them here in the near future, because it brings some very, very interesting perspectives in, and also the historical research that their group and their historians are bringing to the table are phenomenal. Things that I've never read in any book. So that's going to be one of my highlights also.
A couple more questions. I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Jaboot on YouTube asked about Napoleonics.
We're looking at Napoleonics for. I'm working heavily on our Gettysburg. The first one, the Gettysburg, and the second painting is somewhere around here. And this is brigade corps level, and we are looking for that series in Napoleonics. So we already have people working on that, but we have to do everything in order. But Napoleonics is one of my favorite time periods, along with War of the Roses and Chinese Tang Dynasty. So you better guarantee every single one of those will be a game soon.
Last question, unless you have anything else you want to squeeze in here.
No, we went through what I wanted to do and make these as short as possible.
It's May the 4th, Star Wars holiday. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
You know what? I hate to say it.
Be honest.
I'm a Star Trek fan. Oh, John Picard and all that. And the Orville rocks. If nobody's watched the Orville,
that's really good.
I love the Orville. Dark Matter. What the heck are they thinking, canceling Dark Matter?
That's a good one too.
It's just, but I really like the direction that Star Wars is taking now. I really like it. They're making more action filled and all, but they're really bringing the storyline. So,
how about favorite Star Wars board game?
I like Imperial Assault a lot, and so I haven't played the newer ones yet. So, sorry, not enough time.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts, questions, suggestions. If you like the video, if you like what we're doing on the channel, hit the like button right down there. If you're new to the page, make sure you hit the subscribe button. It's right over there. The notification bell, that's a big one. Make sure you click that. It's right next to it so you don't miss any of the new videos. If you missed any of the previous videos, just click or tap right there. And if you want to see trailers for some of the games that we offer, click or tap right there. yes, those animations will appear after we have it up there. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend and go play games.
Have a good one.